Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Upswing Report. Today's video is a storytime video, and it's my journey to getting into school. Hopefully this storytime will be inspiring, so let's get right into the video. Quick background on myself: I was homeschooled my entire life, all the way through school, and I'm one of 8 kids. Growing up was an interesting experience, to say the least. When I was about 13 or 14, I just kind of made it up in my mind that I was going to do something with my life. What that looked like for me was setting high expectations for myself in terms of going to the University of Michigan, and I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. And in my head, that was the end goal: to be an entrepreneur, self-employed. One first step in that equation was to go to school and study business and film. So I wanted to go for a double major, graduate, and then just crush it in the entrepreneurial world and just do well. This story is about the first part, and if you've been following the Upswing Report, kind of journey along the entrepreneurial part. But let's get right into the first part of me going into school. Being homeschooled, there was something that was really important for my application, and that was standardized tests. ACT or SAT, either one of those, depending on where you're from, maybe even both. The problem was when I started looking into schools and how to apply to them, I really had no experience and really no training for standardized tests. When I decided I wanted to go and apply for University of Michigan, that was one big part of the application, in addition to your essays and just kind of your overall extracurriculars as well as your grades. As a sophomore, I was like, all right, I gotta do this ACT thing, and that's what I decided to take, not the SAT, but I did the ACT, and I started studying my butt off for this. I got some books on the ACT, and I just started learning as much as I could about it. I ended up taking it, I think, 3 or 4 times, and the highest score I got was a 24. I think one time I got a 23, and all the other times I got a 24. Looking back, I would have done things differently in terms of preparation. I would have probably hired a tutor, and I would have taken more actual tests and not just read up and learn about it. I actually would have practiced, and I think that would have helped me raise my score. Regardless, I was doing all I could at that time, and I ended up still with a 24 on my ACT. In addition to studying for the ACT, I also took classes at the community college. I think I was 15 when I took my first class. I decided, again, I want to do really well in school so I can get into the University of Michigan, and I started taking classes. I did really well at the community college when I was dual enrolled. It's something that you can do as a high school student depending on where you're from, and you can take college level classes at the community college as well as high school, and I did really well there. Made sure I was looking at rate my professor, getting the right professors. There's something called the LAC at the community college I went to called the Learning Academic Center, and I just basically lived there. And my mindset for that was, I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna learn this, and if they can't teach me, screw that tutor. I'm gonna find another tutor. I'm gonna talk to the professor. By any means necessary, I'm gonna do well. And I ended up graduating from high school with, I think, about 46 credits or so, with like a 3.93, something like that, GPA. And that was really good for my application. However, my ACT score was definitely sucky, and that caused problems that I'll get to in a little bit here. One little side note is I honestly had an unhealthy obsession when I was like 13 or 14. I'm gonna do this in my head, and it kind of drove me to the point where I basically had not much self-worth internally. It was more like, if I could do this, then I'm gonna be valuable. And I've since then shifted that in my mind. But that's something, if you're watching this video, or even if you're a part of the Upswing community, that's something that, us achievers really need to watch out for. Me talking to myself here. So okay, did really bad on the ACT. I did really well at the community college all the way through high school. Actually, I think even before high school, I started caddying. You're carrying the golf bags. That was my summer job. I think I started when I was like 12 maybe. I did that all throughout high school. That's kind of random fact right here, but it'll loop in and make more sense as to how I actually got a full ride scholarship. I think it's the second largest private scholarship in the country. It's called the Evans Scholarship, which is a really random scholarship for golf caddies. This is something that I was able to get, and I'll give you that little part of the story. Generally speaking, golfers are pretty affluent, they're wealthy, and there's something that they can donate to called the Par Club. And the Par Club funds the Evans Scholarship Foundation. And what it does is it gives back to caddies and gives them full ride scholarship in addition to tuition, but also housing for, I think, 26 or something like that schools across the country. In the state of Michigan, where I'm from, they give it to University of Michigan and Michigan State University. You don't have to caddy when you're in school. You just caddy in high school, and that qualifies you to apply. And that's one big part of the scholarship. Obviously, application process is to be a caddy. You also have to have good scores for school. You also have to have outstanding character. Not really sure exactly what that means. And then you also have to have some sort of financial need. So at this time, again, I was one of 8 kids, and it was during a lot of the real estate meltdown, which my dad, his job is in real estate. So it all kind of worked out very well for me to set myself up to do well for the application. So I caddied, I worked really hard on the golf course, I caddied for the right people, I networked, and I ended up getting to my junior year and applying for the scholarship. I knew that my ACT was weak, and I knew also my homeschooling could potentially be looked at as a disadvantage where it's kind of unregulated. I wanted to make sure that I did all I could on the golf course to increase my chances of success. So I caddied for the right people that were on the scholarship board committee. I would make sure that I talked to the caddy master, who's kind of the the top boss. Told him, hey, look, I'm applying for the scholarship. If there's any way I could caddy for this person or this person, that'd be awesome. And I just showed up every day, and I got to caddy for those people, and that really helped my application out. So getting back to the University of Michigan and my application, U of M is really hard to get into. So for homeschool students, and they call them alternative students, they had their own admissions counselor or admissions person. I actually went there and I dropped off my packet of printed out application and basically just said, hey, I am Austin Waldo. I wanna put a face to the application. I think that really helped out well. Sally was her name, and she was just really nice to me and was happy I stopped by. What I heard back from that is that they were still waiting to see how my grades were at the end of the semester at the community college before they made a decision. Also, by the way, my essays, I spent so much time working on them with my mom, hours upon hours upon hours, waiting for University of Michigan, waiting for the scholarship to admit me, and waiting for my grades to get back so that these all could kind of happen together. So while I was waiting for these things, there was an interview for all the scholarship candidates that I was not invited to, so I thought I was screwed and I did not make the cut. Again, I took action. I called the people that were on the scholarship committee that I had built that relationship with, and they basically said I was on the wait list for the scholarship because they were waiting to see if I got into the University of Michigan, but I was accepted into the secondary interview process for the scholarship. I went there, did that. Instead of being in front of hundreds of people, it was actually a really small table. I think there was only like 5 or so people, and then there was 5 candidates, and that went really well. So still waiting to hear back from Michigan, still waiting to hear back from my grades so that I could get into Michigan, hopefully. And then I got a packet in the mail from the Evans Scholarship, and I opened it up, and guess what? I earned the scholarship, and I was so ecstatic about getting into the scholarship program. However, when I started reading the application, I realized that they had given it to me to go to Michigan State, which is a great school. It's not University of Michigan, but it's still a good school. I was like torn because the University of Michigan was my goal, and I really wanted that. I was so driven for that. So I called up the scholarship community, I called all the people. What I heard is that they were basically filled up at all the scholar limits, and I was like, look, I'll sleep on a cot in the hallway if I have to. I just want to go to the University of Michigan. And they're like, well, you still got to get accepted there. Maybe somebody will drop out, we'll keep you in mind. That was kind of where I was at. So I was waiting to hear back from my grades. So I went and met the admissions counselor again and just said, hey, waiting to hear back. I think I did really well this semester. Long story short, I ended up getting into the University of Michigan, and I ended up kind of finagling my way and getting that scholarship transferred from Michigan State to go to University of Michigan. There was so many things that I could have just accepted and been like, you know what, this is a great opportunity, I'm just gonna settle with this. But I really just wanted to go and do exactly what I wanted. University of Michigan, hopefully get that scholarship, and all of that happened. It's a story for another time probably, but again, I wanted to do a double major of business and film. Now the business program is even more competitive than the school as a whole, so I had to apply for that. Long story short, when I first applied, I didn't get in, and I reapplied and I got in the second time. This was a very brutal journey for me, but it really helped me grow into the person that kind of goes after their dreams that I am today. All those trials and tribulations of just crazy pushing through, those really built me today, and I can look at those times and apply them to my entrepreneurial journey. So hopefully this is a story that you can kind of remember, take things from, and apply it to your own journey, whether you're applying for a school program or just doing whatever kind of goals that you have set out in your life. Life can be really tough at times, but when you push through those struggles and those tribulations, you build your own self-respect and your self-reliance so that you can have peace at the end of the journey. So that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the Storytime format. If you did, I would love to hear in the comments below. My name is Austin. This is the Upswing Report. And remember, keep it upswing. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Go Blue.